planets, galaxies, and things like that. It'll be very easy to get after that. Yeah, you did. You did a little bit, Connie, but you know what, Connie? You had it under control quite a lot. I saw your broadcast, Connie, last night, and man, oh man, I tell you, you hit the nail on the head on many, many, many of the targets, and you could tell you were doing it right. Hats off to you on that one. You keep it up, and I tell you, you're going to come up with some amazing images. Well, I'm not sure about the teacher stuff there, but I tell you, Connie, I went to bed, and I've always got that little netbook beside me, and I decided to go while I was watching the news a bit, and I said, I'm going to go see what what's going on there. And I saw you there, and I saw you doing your thing, and I saw your adjustment you're doing, and I kept yelling, yes, she's got it. Yes, she's got it. And Mitch kept saying, what's wrong with you? Of course, she's reading her book with headphones and whatever else, and I said, oh, she's got it. Look it. So your images were really, really good. Some of them, I was blown away how you managed to get it really, really well. And I tell you, Connie, you surprised me quite a lot, and you definitely hit the nail on the head on many, many, many of the targets. So it's good to go back to the same targets on and off, and simply because to practice, and this practice will give you the experience to know what to do for a different type of object. You'll know what to do, and if those minor adjustments that you're doing don't work out, well, you'll probably remember what you did on F51 to get it going right. And then you're going to apply other adjustments that you need. So it's just a matter of remembering a little bit, just a matter of practicing. Stick to a few targets. Don't go overwhelmingly all over the place and large, big object and little guys, and don't do that. You got to stick with well-known targets so you can acquire the experience on how to adjust the camera and the frame grabber. And once you've done that, you're going to master that in a matter of no time. And the pure enjoyment is going to come from it. Now you'll be able to enjoy. We'll be able to talk about what we're looking at. In this case, this is something we forgot to do tonight. Oh, I just hit them. Talking about being twisted here tonight. Hang on, folks. Yeah, we forgot to talk about what we're looking at. Isn't that disgusting? Well, let's talk about it. The Dumbbell Nebula. I moved them out, sorry about that. It's a planetary nebula, and it's approximately 1,000 light years distance. And it's about 2 light years across in diameter. Through a small telescope, and when you look at it, just look for a hazy cloud, a hazy patch, with a slight rectangular shape. This is using an eyepiece, and a larger one, you're going to start to resolve slightly the narrowing area near the middle of the target. So anybody that looks at through a telescope, they'll have a nice view of it, thus giving it an hourglass or a dumbbell appearance. Uh-oh. I did screw up, didn't I? Hang on. I screwed up the focus, folks. Hang on. Hey, whiz. Hang on, folks. I gotta get out of the hyper mode, and we need to redo the focus. Because I hit the camera. Hang on, folks. Hang on a sec. Now we go with the zoom. Turn up the brightness. Make the image ugly. That's what we want. Am I going to learn this or what? Stop banging the camera. Okay. Get those stars as tightly as possible. As tight as possible. As small as possible. That's what you want to do in using the zoom. All right, let me work at this. Am I ever going to learn, huh? Hang on, let me turn the button here, the focus closer, slowly but surely. I really banged this one up good. Using the zoom allows you to bring in the star closer, and it allows you to reach a better focus. And the idea is not to get a nice star. The idea is to get a tightly focused star. As tight as possible, still not going to look good. That's not what we're after right now, because we've got the zoom in. You don't want to observe with the zoom with that amount of magnification. Okay, hang on. And this is 2-second exposure, by the way. So we can have a fast refresh. A bit of hard time here getting that zoom happening. Have a bit of movement here from the mount. Bear with me, folks. We're just working our way on the focus. I'm also looking at a center star of M27. It's a faint star in there, but we're going to try to get best focus as we can get. You know, when you see the fainter star get brighter, you know you're getting close as well. So you got to look at the brighter stars and the fainter stars. Okay, there we go. This is it right there. So what we do next is we back the focus out, back the, not the focus, but the zoom. There we go. And we are going to engage our 15-second exposure. Yes, Jack, you do a fantastic job at recording the videos, and I want to thank you so much for that. I think everybody appreciates it, and what we do, this is what Jack does. The best at it, can't get any better than that. There you go, we're back at 15-second exposure, and the focus is a little bit better than it was. In fact, a lot better if you will look at the stars with an M27. I'll try to keep my elbow away from the camera, and I did hit it. Boy, beating up my mount, beating up my camera, it's a tough one. Oh, okay, Bob, not a problem. In New Mexico, I'd be more than happy to tell you about it. The AGC is set to off. The actual AGC, automatic gain control, is set to off. As you know, I don't know which software you would use, or if you're going to use the menu of the camera using the rear buttons, but there's 3 settings for the AGC. One of them is off, the other one is on, the other one is manual. Never, never, never use the on unless if you do daytime observation, terrestrial observation. The 2 modes you want is man for manual, then you adjust the slider accordingly or the number, or off. With the Xterminator, with the ICX-828 sensor, it is so sensitive you don't need to have it on. If I would have it on, instead of using 15-second exposure, I'd probably be using about 8 or maybe even 5 by having the gain on. If you want, I could try it, and you're going to see the difference. But if you want to have a little bit better, yeah, this one has aerogel, by the way. Oh, does it? Yeah, it does. I don't have the fans on it, so it does have the aerogel. Now, to get back to what we were saying to Bob, New Mexico, I hope that's where you are. The AGC I keep to position off, completely off. And that way you operate the sensor at unity gain, just like a CCD camera would. And you basically work with the adjustments, such as the brightness, contrast, and all of that stuff. And but if we change the AGC, the aim glow is going to become a lot more prominent, and it's going to show up a lot more. I could show you if you want. If you have a few moments, we're going to have to wait about 3 minutes. And I'm going to show that to you. This is a good point you're bringing up. I'll leave all of the adjustment the way they are. Okay. The PEC, Teresa, is that the TEC or the PEC? I think it would be the TEC. My TEC, my cooler is set to off. When it's set to off, it's idling. The Peltier cooler is just idling. It gives just enough cold on the sensor to keep it medium. I don't have it on at the high settings at the moment. I always keep my TEC down to quite a low level, which is off in this case, which gives you about a minus. Oh, the Peltier cooler's got to idle. It has to generate cold. Basically, it acts like a heat pump. It takes the heat away from the sensor and transfer it on the hot side, on the other side of the Peltier cooler. When you have it set it off, what that does, it keeps it, it's not completely off, it's not shut down off, because you could actually send the sensor into a thermal shock. CCD sensors are notorious for that, and CMOS are even worse. You don't want to shut down completely a Peltier. You need it idling, so there's always a little bit of cooling applied to it. And this is where I run it. Unless if it's going to be really hot, like at the video star party here, when it gets really hot outside, then I'm going to bring it to -5 or -20. But it's rare. Only use what you need. Okay, Bob, let's go back. Bob in New Mexico, let's go back. Yes, it does. I did say it. Simon. It does have aerogel in it. That was one of the early model with the aerogel, but it does not have the new optical window though. I'm going to bring that one back to work, and we're going to change that so we can get the latest new optical window. That's correct, Connie. At 4, it's fairly high. I would turn it on about 3 or 2, and you're going to have to increase exposure a little bit. But here's the thing. AGC, if you increase it at 4, which is a good setting, by the way, you need to back down on the exposure because you're just going to amplify everything, including the ambro that's going to be there that's caused by the AGC. When you turn the AGC on, you're pushing the CCD sensor to be more sensitive. More voltage run through it, bias is changed in it, like everything is changed. Therefore, you're going to get some artifacts happening. Amblo is a normal thing on EX view type sensor made by Sony, which are the most sensitive. You'll get that, but you need to keep that AGC down. However, if your mount don't track too well, what you're going to need to do is keep the AGC up and keep the exposure down. And this is exactly what we're about to show right now. Okay, so you can go more than 7 seconds. Watch this. We're going to show Bob and you what is the AGC. I'm going to have, right now we've got the exposure set at 15 seconds. I'm not going to touch a thing. I'm not going to touch anything at all on the video tab for the frame grabber or the camera other than the exposure and the AGC. We're going to have to wait 3 minutes for that. You ready? Okay, let's stop the 2-second exposure. Okay, watch this. Let's switch this AGC to manual. We're going to go from off to manual. The camera's got to start over again for about 2.5 minutes, give or take. I'm going to have the level at 3. So let the camera build up. And what happens is every stage of the 128X that's being built up, it's for protection so you don't overload the electronics of the camera. Some people that get annoyed at that. Well, you got 2 choices to get annoyed. Either the camera blows up, you got to send it back, or it goes into safety mode and does it the right way. Which one would you choose? I would choose to have it safety. This thing is so sensitive. The electronic is so delicate and sensitive. It needs the safety mode to slowly crank up the gain on a slow speed basis. You don't want to have it full gain right off the bat like that. You're going to overload the electronics right away. You will overload your capture device as well, and it's not going to be good for electronics. Now, I've got the gauge set at 3. We're starting to see more and more stars, and actually, I'm starting to see M27, the core of M27 a little bit. And look at that, this is 2 seconds. Okay, Jim, and I the blue halo to the right of the stars. Okay, that, I know what you mean now by that, Jim. Very simple. Right now we're using a rejection optics. Aluminized mirrors do not have any color aberration, or they don't have any chromatic effect. As soon as you introduce any lens, any glass lens in there, you are going to have a color shift. Blue will be shifted slightly off, red will be shifted slightly off. This is a normal nature of any, and I do mean any glass that there is. Even if it's apochromatic type, it's still going to do it at one point or another. Because the pixels are big, you're going to see that a lot more. Now, in my case, I've got a focal reducer. That means you induce glass in there, you will get color shift a little bit. And how you deal with that is, there's 2 ways. You could change the white balance manual. You could lower the blue a little bit, and you could use the hue on the video tab along with the saturation. The hue is going to go a long way. You're going to be able to blend the color so the blue doesn't come out as much. Don't forget, this is video and it's ultra sensitive. It'll pick up anything that's off. So when you get stars that comes in that are pinpoint, obviously, and this is an EX view hat, you got to remember one thing. X view hat has micro lensing technology on each pixel. That's like having a little microscope, a little tiny telescope on each pixel. So you're dealing with lens number 1 right there. Lens number 2 is your focal reducers, which has 4 of them. So you will get some color shift at one point. However, if you use that on a mirror system only with nothing in the way, you won't have that effect as bad. Yes, that's what I'm about to do. That's exactly what we're doing right now, Larry. Now, we've got a camera running at its full 2 seconds. I haven't touched anything at all on the video. I'm going to fire back up again. The exposure 15 seconds. You remember what the image looked like a little while ago? 15 seconds. Now the AGC's on at 3, level 3. Watch how bright this image is going to get. 15 is going to be overwhelmingly too much. Way too much. Here's my answer to you. I haven't touched a thing. All I did is turn the AGC on to 3, number 3, and here we are at 15-second exposure. This is horrible, to say the least. We got way too much gain. So, with that being said, there's 2 things we could do. We could cure that by lowering the brightness. I can lower the brightness, but we're going to get a little bit more noise. You're going to start to see the anglo. But man, does that M27 really come out nice. But yes, we got more background noise, more stars are showing up actually, a lot more. It's like boosting your CCD. This is what the AGC does. Automatic gain control that uses a series of amplifier to increase the signal. Okay, so let's put back where it was. Watch this, Connie, and I believe it was Bob. I'm going to lower the exposure on the next round to about 8 seconds. We were at 7 seconds. Here we go. We were at 15 seconds. Let's go and leave the AGC 3, and let's go with the exposure of 7 seconds. And I bet you we're going to come close to what we had with the AGC off. There you go. Exactly what I said. Instead of 15 seconds or 20-second exposure, we're down to 7-second exposure. But we got the AGC on. So let's go back to the brightness, increase it a little bit to compensate. Your angle is still reasonable. It's there, but it's still reasonable. So either you use the AGC at off and increase the exposure, 15, 20 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever you like, or increase the AGC a little bit. In my case, it's on manual at level 3, and lower the exposure 7 seconds. This is 7 seconds, folks. But the angle is very, very minimal. You need to balance that out. When you use the AGC, you will need to back off on the exposure because you no longer need it. The AGC does the work. It's like an amplifier. It's just like a volume control on the stereo. The more you turn it up, the louder that music's going to come out. This is exactly what it does. The lower the level of the AGC, the more the image is going to be bright. Everything's going to be much brighter. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to go down to even lower than that. Let's go to 5-second exposure. Let's see what 5 seconds is going to give us. And we can compensate by increasing the brightness. Here's 5-second exposure. We still detect colors. Nice background. Turn up the brightness on your capture device. There we go. Hey, you can turn it up a lot. Your angle is not any worse than what it was. You could bring it down, get a nice dark background. Okay, you do detect a little bit less stars. They're there, they're just not as bright. Turn up the contrast. There, I just did, and that's going to bring things up. But I'll bring it back down to about 57 is where I had it. Look. There you go, 57 is where I had it. This is 5-second exposure. But the AGC is at number 3. If I turn up the AGC to 4 or 5, I'm going to have to back down that exposure. Now, here's what video astronomy is supposed to be. Oh, I got no more audio? Oh, okay. All right, do we still have audio? Just want to make sure. The good old internet, huh? Somebody's downloading a movie near her, I think, and they're rubbing away all of this internet juice that they need. Okay, the stars are not focused on the lower right because I knocked the camera earlier on, and I think it's out of square into the telescope. But anyway, it's not a big deal for now. Bob, absolutely, you're right on that. In New Mexico, you're totally right on that. Here's the thing, we could, see this is 5-second exposure, Bob. Why? Because we turn off the AGC. Watch this. We're going to stop that, okay? And I'm going to increase the AGC from 3 to maybe 5. Okay, here goes the camera. It's got to reset itself. It takes about 2 minutes really to reset. We put the safety to 3 minutes. Really, it's just to be safer. But 2 minutes and 20 seconds or so it's good enough. You're good to go. So let's see the image build up. Now the AGC is going to be set at level 5. And I bet you we're going to need like 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Just by adjusting the video tab, brightness and contrast, we'll be able to get some very, very nice images. Yes, always wait 3 minutes. Well, 2 minutes is pretty well what you should be able to. 3 is the safest. As I said earlier, it's to protect the fine electronics. It has to gradually come up without overloading the electronics. Let's say if this thing you build a brighter object and you decide to change settings and it goes right away that mode, the image will become white. You're going to oversaturate the sensor. You're going to oversaturate the preamps. You're going to oversaturate the AD converter. That's why sometimes when stars go square, you're overloaded the analog digital conversion. It's not a permanent damage. You need to do a master reset, give it a break because it overheated, obviously, and start over again pretty well. Okay, now we are at AGC5 for the level. It is a great time to get a snack, yes. Now, look at this. I turned up the AGC to 5. And we had the exposure at 5 seconds. I'm going to put the exposure at 4 seconds. Look at this. The image keeps building. And we're still at 2 seconds, folks. I haven't touched the hyper mode yet. This is how well the AGC works, but don't abuse it. See, we're actually detecting colors. Now, if I go at 3 second exposure, there we go. 3, 2, 1, bingo. Wow. This is like the 20-second image we had earlier. And this is only 3 seconds, guys and girls. We got a bit more anglo now. Why? That means the exposure's too long. So lower the brightness. Here we go again. There you go. This is very, very reasonable. 3 second exposure AGC5. Yes, it does. It will because the exposure is shorter. Always, you're going to get a little bit more noise in there. But then again, Connie, if you're into photography, it's a different thing. What you need to do is grab about 8 frames, 8 image, stack them up using Registack, and all that noise is going to be gone. It's called random video noise. It's an all video camera. Same thing's going to apply for a progressive scan. In fact, a progressive scan is going to be far, far worse than that. The ICX-825, for example, at 3 seconds, you won't see the object well. You're going to see more noise than anything else. Now, here's what's happening here. A lot of people cover their cameras and they say, holy cow, I got a lot of hot pixels. Yes. Here's why. The DSP inside of the Xterminator, the Extreme, the VSS, the old pros, like Simon has, for example, the NCHP, MallinCam Hyper Plus, or even the Hyper Plus, the DSP inside is made to operate in the following way. It needs to see a signal. That means the CCD needs to see something. If you cover it in total blackness, what's going to happen? The DSP is going to look for a signal in there. And what it's going to see? Hot pixels. What does it do? It turns it up. It turns up the gain on each of the pixels. Then you say, whoa, look at all the hot pixels. What's going on? Well, if you allow light to enter, in other words, an object, M27, M13, I don't care what it is, a fairly messy object type of thing, the DSP will know, it will recognize what is being given by the CCD through the AD converter, and it will lower what it's called the noise, including the warm and hot pixels. It's going to dim them down and allow the main signal to come in, which is, in this case, M27, or if you're going to look at another object, it's the same thing. So you need to have light entering. Never cover your camera and says, wow, look at all the hot pixels. This is the false way of doing things. The DSP is the digital signal processor. DSP. So it needs to see a signal coming from the CCD. You cover your camera, you crank things up. Well, the DSP is looking for an active light from the sensor through the AD conversion. The AD conversion has converted something. The DSP is going to pick it up and says, hey, okay, here's some light, let's crank that up. That's the signal we want. In fact, where there isn't. That's why when we test cameras at work, we make them worse. In other words, we put the gain all the way up, we put everything up, and we get to observe the type of noise in the background. We get to see the actual warm pixels, hot pixels, where they color shift, you name it. And we can do that through an oscilloscope, which we do quite regularly, or anything like that. Now, you need to have a signal entering in the camera. That means the CCD needs to see something, and when it does, voltage is given not on a one pixel basic like a hot pixel, for an example, but several pixels, thousands of pixels are going to be lit up. If you look at M27, for an example, you got lots of you've got thousands of pixels lit up here. So the DSP knows that altogether. So it knows, oh, this is an actual signal being from one area of the sensor, and I need to filter out the rest. The DSP, the digital signal processor, that's what the job is. It's to lower the hot pixels, the warm pixels. The warm pixels are just about eliminated, and reduce as much noise as it can based on the exposure. Once again, this technology, this system is only on real, true video CCD cameras with interline sensors, like this one here, for example, the Xterminator, and also with a BNC connector, which is a composite, and as video output. These are real video cameras. What I call real video, they don't use USB to acquire the data. That's a different ballgame. That's imaging. It's not real live video CCD. So I hope that explains a few things to you folks out there. Hey, good day, Rusty. Nice to see you here. Thank you very much. How are you, Rusty? Good stuff. Good. Okay, what I'm going to do is we're going to switch target, I guess. We might want to go to, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to go to something else that's nearby, I guess.